let's get the show rolling. Glass is in session. On a Friday, we go to the Glass for Guest line, check in with Shane Jackson, who joins us. Give Shane a follow on X at SJacksonMGM. He's a web content writer for BetMGM. Shane, great having you back on the show, man. And got some unfortunate news yesterday, obviously, with Victor Wembanyama, which just sucks. As NBA fans and sports fans, that he's going to be shut down the rest of the season. Right now at BetMGM, the Spurs are plus 200 to make it in to the play-in tournament. Shane, do you think there's value there without Wemby? Do you want to get involved still? Do you believe that the Spurs could still make a run in that play-in tournament without one of the rising stars in the NBA?
I don't think they can make a run to the play-in tournament without Wemby. To be honest, I'm not sure I believed in this team totally to make the play-in tournament with Wemby. But right now, Dunks and Threes model gives them about 11% chance of making the play-in tournament. 8% of that is number 10 seed at best, so that's your best case scenario. I think it's more likely they lean into the tank in the coming weeks. Maybe we get a shutdown of De'Aaron Fox down the stretch, and that seems more likely to me than a play-in tournament. And honestly, it might be better for their long-term outlook, assuming Wemby is able to come back and be fully healthy next year.
What do you think of the Rookie of the Year race now with Stephon Castle likely sliding into maybe that number 2 role? So obviously Wemby's going to be out for the year. De'Aaron Fox is going to be the top guy. Stephon Castle's kind of emerged at number 2. He's now minus 190 to win Rookie of the Year in the NBA. Do you feel like it's his award to lose at this point?
Yeah, I'm glad you started with this one because my initial instinct was to look at Defense Player of the Year market, and then this one is the one that became even more clear, the Defense Player of the Year. I do think it's Stephon Castle's award to lose at this point. He went from plus odds to minus odds, and you're going to see his usage really ramp up in the next several weeks. He had about a 25% usage in that first game without Wemby last night. He's had a 30% usage in 4 of his previous 6 games. That role is increasing for him. That's why he's averaged about 17 points per game this month. So I expect it to be even bigger in the next several weeks, especially if the Spurs kind of lean into that youth movement and tank, as I was referring to earlier. So yeah, Stephon Castle deserving minus 190 favorite. This has been a very chaotic market, but it finally feels like it's very clear and it's his award to lose.
You mentioned Defensive Player of the Year, Shane, and Wemby was the heavy favorite. He was going to win the award, but now that he's not eligible to do so because he didn't play enough games, now it opens it back up, and we got ourselves a wide-open race. Jaren Jackson Jr., minus 120 right now. Evan Mobley, minus 110. The stats are pretty comparable. Do you feel like you like one guy better than the other to win the Defensive Player of the Year, or maybe do you see value on somebody else down the board?
I think both players are deserving favorites at this point based off what you said in their resume. If I had to lean one between the two, Jaren Jackson Jr. would be my pick. And that's mostly because voters really like repeat winners. I think there have been 10 players who have won multiple Defensive Player of the Year awards, and him already have won one really gives him a leg up over Evan Mobley. However, voters also really like to reward the best defense in the league. And 11 of the last previous 12 Defensive Player of the Year winners have been on a team that ranked first or second in defensive rating. And this year, that isn't the Cavs or the Grizzlies. Cavs are 8th, and the Grizzlies are 7th in defensive rating. The Thunder are the best defense team in the league. They're first by a wide margin, a historic margin. So I actually think this opens the door for someone on OKC to be recognized as a potential Defensive Player of the Year. And personally, for me, I think that's Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. And I like his value the most at 30-1. He's second in the league in steals per game. Advanced metrics, he is a better defender than Lou Dort. And he's someone who got 7th in Defensive Player of the Year voting last year. So voters have already recognized he's an elite defender. So I don't think he can win this award and the MVP. So maybe a parlay of SGA to win Defensive Player of the Year and Jokic to win MVP is actually the better way to play it. But I'm very tempted by 31 odds on SGA here in the next several days because I think that is the player that I want to target down the stretch for Defensive Player of the Year.
Ooh, very interesting. Yeah, if SGA doesn't win MVP, this might be the market to look at him for some value. Shane, let's talk about the second half of the NBA, right? We've already had some games underway. We got another good slate coming up later on tonight. Who's a team that you think people should keep an eye out for in the second half of the season that you think could play some good basketball here over the next couple months?
Yeah, I think the Minnesota Timberwolves are coming. Right now, they're 7th in the West at the top of the play-in tournament picture, but I could see them climbing out of the play-in altogether. This is a team that has the 4th easiest schedule down the stretch in terms of opponent net rating, so they are going to get favorable opponents down the stretch. And this is really the time that they were supposed to hit their stride. I mean, they had a lot of roster changes from a team that made the Western Conference Finals last year. And so I think there were some natural growing pains. But post break, I mean, this is a chance for them to hit their stride. There's some real upside in the way they play offensively. They're fifth in 3-point frequency. So I think they're going to climb out of the play-in tournament picture, and they're going to be a real threat in the Western Conference playoffs come summertime.
The Denver Nuggets are a team, Shane, that really interests me just because of the price at plus 550. They've won 9 games in a row. I get Oklahoma City's the team to beat, but they haven't been there yet. You know, this group hasn't been to a Western Conference final. They haven't won a championship yet. Just at the price and the way that Denver's playing as of late, do you think plus 550 that they could be worth a bet to win the Western Conference?
Yeah, anytime you have the best player in the world, you definitely have a chance of reaching the NBA Finals. I think the Nuggets were my pick to win the NBA Finals before the season, so I certainly still believe in their upside as well and to win the West. So I'm on the same page with you. It's not really about this 9-game win streak against inferior opponents either. I mean, this is a team that has been one of the best teams in basketball for the last 3 years. And if it had not been for a collapse against the Timberwolves, who I referred to earlier, in Game 7 at home, I mean, this team might have won the West last year and maybe gone back-to-back. So I definitely think there's value in the Nuggets at this point. And as long as they stay in that 2-3 seed line and avoid the Thunder to the Western Conference Finals, I mean, this is the team that I would pick to win the West if the playoffs started today.
I like it. I'm with you, Shane. I would take the Nuggets as well. Like I mentioned, pretty good slate tonight in the association. Any bets that you like for today's slate?
I like Cavaliers forward DeAndre Hunter over 13.5 points against the New York Knicks. I mentioned him in last week's show as a possible Sixth Man of the Year candidate. His first game post-break didn't go as according to plan, but his line closed at 14.5, and he went 3 of 10 of shooting. So I think this is a discount based off poor shooting from last night. And there's a chance that we see an uptick in minutes and shot attempts. Cleveland is an 8.5-point favorite against the New York Knicks, so I think there's a chance he has a bigger role tonight, and better shooting gets him over 13.5 points.
All right, very good. Shane, before we let you go, obviously you do a great job covering baseball as well. Spring training's really going to get into full swing here starting tomorrow. We're starting our NL East preview, and obviously a bunch of good teams in that division. The Braves, the Mets, the Phillies, all expected to win over 90 games. Who for you is the team to beat in that division this year? Who do you think wins the NL East?
Yeah, that's the big question. If you have the answer for me, I'm glad to hear it. But right now, I think I would pick the Braves as plus 135 favorites to win the NL East, especially after they lost their division for the first time since 2017. Nobody dealt with as many injuries as the Braves did last year, and yet this team still won 89 games and made the playoffs. Atlanta was minus 270 to win the division this time last year. This is their best preseason price to win the NL East since 2020. I understand the race is going to be more competitive and probably come down to the very end. But to me, I think you would take the discounted price on the best team in the last several years to win this division.
I like it, man. It's going to be a great race watching those 3 teams go at it all season long. No doubt about it. Shane Jackson, make sure you guys give him a follow on X at SJacksonMGM. Joins us each and every Friday here on Send It In, web content writer for BetMGM. Shane, have a great weekend, man. Always appreciate you stopping by. We'll talk again soon.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Absolutely.